Okay, so this is an Alma Matters, and we're speaking today about normalization rules. Here's what we're going to show, an introduction, which we're doing now. Then we're going to create normalization rules, test the normalization rules, and then we're going to add them as a process. We really can't use them until they're added as a process. A process may contain, as we'll see, multiple normalization rules. Then we're going to run the process, which will include one or more normalization rules from various parts of the system. All right. So first of all, what is a normalization rule? Let's start with that. A normalization rule can be used to change data. For example, to add a field, change the text of a field, delete a field, and all of those can also be done conditionally. We can say, for example, add a 245 subfield H with the text electronic journal only if there's an 856 field and or only if there's an ISSN field. Other systems had similar things called different terms, maybe fixed routines, so it's not an entirely new concept. Just the way we go about doing it is a new process. Switch to Alma and let's log in. And what we'll do is create, for the beginning, a basic normalization routine. The way we create and manage the normalization routines are from within the metadata editor. So I'm going into the metadata editor now, and we can see all of the existing rules from our left pane under Rules, underneath Normalization Rules, and then we have Private and Shared, similar to the templates where we have Private and Shared, the sets we have Private and Shared, private being only my username can see them, shared being everyone can see them. And if we click the plus, we can see the rules. Okay, now if we want to know what do the rules do or how can we design one, the easiest way is to go into the online help where we are now, search for normalization rules, and here we have a constantly growing database of sample normalization rules. Every time a library asks for a new normalization rule, or we make an existing normalization rule more complex or change it around and have a good one, we add them here to this list of examples. So the easiest way is to take an example which does as close as possible to what you want to make, take that one and change it around a bit. So let's grab one of these. Here, for example, we're changing this text with this text. Let's start with deleting a field. We'll make at least two, but let's start, we just want to delete a field. So let's say, for example, let's even search for delete or remove. Here we are. Remove all 9XX fields. We've also got ones which remove specific fields. Yeah, this one removes the 920 fields. So let's take this one, I'll copy it. And now we're going to build one in Alma. So, from the metadata editor, we'll say File, New, Normalization Rule. This is how we build a new normalization routine. Okay, so let's call this, we'll change it, instead of 920s, let's delete the 930s. We'll say, now I have a lot of normalization rules in here, so I'll start these with AM Alma Matters, so we'll be able to find them quickly in my long list of existing rules. And we'll call this AM Delete 93X Fields. We'll make this shared so all users can see it, and we'll make it enabled. The only time I would not want it enabled is when I'm still working on it or I made it but I don't want anyone to run it. Then I would not have it enabled. But if I'm making it and I want to already use it, I'll say enabled. Save. Now I've got my text. So I'll paste what we had. Now you need to be careful with the copy and paste. We've already had cases from real libraries where they've copied and pasted either from an email, a notepad, the online help. Sometimes when copying and pasting, some of the characters get ruined or the carriage returns get ruined, and then it doesn't work. For example, these quotation marks sometimes don't paste properly. So let's say we want to remove all, let's call it 938. Remove all 938. So instead of using the asterisk, but we see the syntax is an asterisk as every character, we'll say remove field 938. Actually, let's call it 93X because we already named it that. So now we have one called remove all 93X fields. Save. Okay. Let's get to that crustacean biology record. So we'll search for any record, crustacean biology. We'll put this in the metadata editor, and let's give this some 93 whatever fields. So I'll say add field. We're just making an example that we can check. 938 $A. Now this is crustacean biology. So let's do whales, and let's add another one. This time we'll give it an indicator to make sure in both cases it's deleting. I don't think they're really crustaceans, but they are some kind of biology. And save. So now we have a record that if we run our normalization routine on it, these fields should get deleted. Let's give another one because we said 93 asterisk, which means not only the 938s, but any 93 anything should get deleted. Okay, and save that. Now, in order to test a normalization routine, we go to Rules, and we switch to Split Editor mode. We focus on the blank pane, and we say normalization routines. We find the normalization routine we want to test, and we do edit. Edit while in the right pane. Here it is. Now, in order to test it, I'll say preview, and it will give me in the right pane the record which is in the left pane, but with the normalization routine run on it. So let's say preview. And the 93 asterisk fields are gone. Great. Here they are in the left pane. In the right pane, they went away. Wonderful. So we have one that works. Let's make another one which adds a field. So let's go to our normalization routine and find one that adds a field. Here's add field 0820 with subfield A, this, if it doesn't already exist. So we could copy this one and just change the text and the field numbers. Let's see what else we've got. This one adds field 940 with first indicator 1, second indicator empty, and subfield A with this. We want to have a nice example. Here's a nice one. Add field 999, CR restricted if it doesn't exist. So I'm going to copy this one. And let's go back to the metadata editor and make a new one. Who remembers how do I make a new normalization routine? File, new normalization rule. I called it a routine. Sorry about that. So let's also call this one something starting with AM. And let's say add 900 field. Now later on, an example we're going to do is running this when we import a record from WorldCat. So I'll say add 900 field WorldCat. Shared, enabled, save. Okay, so now we're going to paste our text in here. And we'll change it around. Let's say add data field 900 with subfield A copied from WorldCat, which is one word, correct? WorldCat's one word, yeah, if it doesn't exist. Now, why is it spelled this way? I once ran into a problem that I didn't reproduce, that when I had an apostrophe here, inside the rule name, I think it thought it was the end of the note, and therefore it wasn't working. So I never put apostrophes inside the rule note, but theoretically you can. Okay, when not exists, now we don't want it to add if it's already there. It's unlikely that we're going to copy a record from WorldCat which already has it, but we may make a set of records we know we copied from WorldCat and do something on them. Or we may export and re-import file records. So let's put it there for safety purposes. And we'll put the text copied from WorldCat. Control V. And now we'll do the rest of them. If not exists, 900 copied from WorldCat, then add field 900A copied from WorldCat. Okay. So Control V, save. Now we'll test this one also. We'll test it by opening any record. We can even use the record we already have here, the Journal of Crustaceans. And we'll go into split editor mode. And in our right pane, we'll focus on the right pane. And find our normalization routine. We have it edit, and we'll do preview and see if it gets added. Okay, so let's take a look if the 900 field was added. Yes, it was copied from WorldCat. Now, if I want these to take effect, then I'll say apply changes. And now the original record has copied from WorldCat. So now we really should check it again because it shouldn't add twice. It's supposed to check it, see if it already exists, and if so, not add it again. So let's give it a try. Back to split editor mode, focus on the right pane, edit, and let's run it again, preview. Let's hope we only have one 900 field. Wonderful. And it added it only once. Now, by the way, I'm going to go back to the normalization routine. If something was not defined correctly, for example, by accident, actually someone told me not to say by accident, by mistake. Not sure what the difference is. So by mistake, I make add field 2 words, and I say preview, and it tells me there's a problem. Instead of just running and not doing it, it tells me I didn't define it right. Okay, so let's fix that. Preview it. Wonderful. Okay, now we want to start using these. So we started out with a brief introduction of if we want to use these, we can do it in several places. In the metadata editor, for example, when importing a record in an import profile, when importing a record from search external resources, or from a set. First, we can save a set, and then we can run this on the whole set. So, let's do that. Okay, so we have here in the edit an option to do enhance the record. Enhance the record. Oh, I think that only works if I'm not in split editor mode. Okay. Edit, enhance the record. Okay. Now, these are what we call processes. As you can see, I don't see here the two normalization rules which we just made. Here, I don't see the normalization rules we just made. I see processes. Each process, we said, includes one or more normalization rules. So, let's add a process which includes both of our normalization rules. How do we do that? We go to the Resource Management Configuration menu. Let me close these records. Excuse me, let me release these records. Okay, so they're released. And now we're going to go to the Resource Management Configuration menu. Here we are. Cataloging metadata configuration. And Mark 21 bibliographic. So we're going to click on Mark 21 bibliographic. Let that open up. And this is where we define various parts of the configurations. Okay, anyway, so we go to normalization, and this is where we define the processes. So now I'm going to add a process. Here we go. Add process. And we'll call this AM for Alma Matters. This is going to do both of our normalization rules. So we'll say add 900 WC, WorldCat, but we don't have that much room here, and that's not water closet, WorldCat. Add 900 WC, delete 93X. Okay, so it's going to do both of those because in a moment you'll see we're going to add both normalization rules we just made to this process. Next. Process description is missing. Required field, it's got a red asterisk, no excuses, I should have known. All right, so here we'll put the whole story. Next. Okay, now, we want to add, in this case, Mark Drool normalization. The language we just saw, the language here of the normalization rules is called a drool. Not the kind where there's saliva on the sides of your mouth. It's a programming language in Java. So these are drools, and we want to add now a drool normalization. So here, we're saying Mark Drool normalization. We need to add this one time for each normalization rule that we're adding to the process. So we'll add it twice. I know this is a little complicated. So we've added twice here, Mark Drool normalization. Now, next, follow the wizard. So for each of these, we'll add the new one we made. First, we're going to do the add 900 field. Then we're going to do delete the 93X fields. Now, there's importance, as you can imagine, to the order that we add these. For example, if someone wanted to first get rid of all the 938 fields that they're importing and then add new ones, they, of course, would have to first delete the others, not add yours and then delete them all, obviously, because then yours would also be deleted. Okay, next. Oh, save, rather. Okay, so now we have a process. What did we call our process? AM something, right? How come we don't see it here? There it is. AM add 900 WC delete 93X. So theoretically, this should now appear in Edit Enhance the Record of the metadata editor. And if we have a record and we run this, it should first add the 900 copied from WorldCat and then delete the 93 X fields. Let's take a look. Back to the metadata editor. And let's take any record, Mark 21 bibliographic. Okay, this is another any record. The other one was the crustacean biology. And let's add here, edit, add field, edit, add field. Oh, you can't keep adding fields if you still have a blank one. Smart system. 937. Anyone? Edit, add field, 938. And F8, 939, whatever. Okay, so now let's even give this an indicator. So now we have 930 something fields. We do not have a 900 field. Let's save this record. And let's see if under Edit Enhance the Record we have our new process. There it is. Wonderful. So let's run our process and see what happens. Okay. I'm afraid to scroll down. No need to fear. It's Alma. The 737, 738, and 739 are out. The 900 was added. Fantastic. Now, if we run it again, it should not again add copied from WorldCat. Here we go. Scroll down, and we got it only once. Okay, perfect. Now, let's really use it somewhere, in a real record. Let's, for example, say every time we copy something from WorldCat, as you know, WorldCat records will have, in many cases, 938 fields for vendor information that the library used to upload it, 952 fields withholding information. We want to get rid of that stuff when we add it. And maybe in our library we also want to say, copied from WorldCat. Let's take a look. If we were to say now, let me first of all close this record. I don't like to leave a lot of records open here. Get rid of this menu. Records, release all records, yes. And we'll stop for questions in a moment. Search external resources, WorldCat. Let's say Library Science from 2013. My first record is going to be Accounting for Librarians. Watch this. Balancing the Book, Accounting for Librarians. Here we go. View. Very recommended book if anyone's interested in their upcoming summer reading. View. So, here, for example, we've got a lot of 938s. Now, we're not going to want these fields when we import them. So we'll get rid of them. And we'll add a 900 field which says copied from WorldCat. Here we go. How do we do that? We go back to the resource configuration menu, to our external search resources, not the profiles, the resources. And for WorldCat, we'll choose Actions, Edit, and we'll choose a normalization process, and we'll choose the one we just made. Save. Now, just as a review, a summary here of what's going on, we made in the metadata editor, open metadata editor, we made these two rules called add 900 field, this one here. We tested it. Then we made this rule here, remove the 9.3 asterisk fields. Then we made a process which includes them both. Let's pop in there a second. A review so we're not lost. Here's what we made. It includes both of those normalization routines. Then we took this process and we stuck this inside the external search resource normalization rule process. Okay, so now if I import a record from WorldCat, it should run this process. That process will run both rules. The 9.3x fields will be deleted. The 900 WorldCat will be added. Let's give it a try. Search external resources, and it'll already be gone before I import. It'll be gone at the view stage even. (2013) Balancing the book, accounting for librarians. Let's see it. There it is. View. Now here comes the big test. We're going to do view. We should not see the 9.3x fields. The 900 should be added. Here we go. View. Okay, the 9.3.8s are gone. Look at that. And the 900 is added. Wonderful. Powerful. Very powerful. Okay, so let's move on. Let's say now, for example, I want to change every time I have in a record information science, I want to change it to information and library science. Or every time I have library science, I want to add another field called information science. So let's take another record. Let's go back to our any record. Let me import this just so we have it anyway, this accounting, save. And let's take a look at our any record. Okay. So let's say every time I have library science, I want to change it to librarianship, which of course I could also do if I'm using authorities and I want to make sure I have the correct one, or I could change a 500 field. We're just doing this for an example. So here we go. Let's go to our list of examples. So here we have a case of replace contents 650 apple with 650 orange. That was obviously not something a real library was doing, but we just wanted to make sure it worked. So we made something like that. Now here we have a condition. Here we're saying when not exists, this, let's take this. Here if I don't want a condition, I just say when true. If I do want a condition, I put it in like that. So we'll make a new one here. File, new, normalization rule. We'll call this library science to librarianship. Whoa, that's real bad spelling. Okay, shared, enabled, save. We'll paste our example. Here we'll change this to when true. Replace content 650A. Library science with librarianship. You know what? Let's go crazy. Let's not be afraid. We'll say when, and we'll use a not exist. What the heck? Worst, it won't work the first time, and we'll figure it out together. Here we go. When not exists, 650A. information science. Change library science to librarianship. And we'll say this, replace text library science with librarianship in 650 only if another 650 does not have information science. All right. We're going out on a limb here, as they say. Being fancy on the spot. Let's save this first of all. Now, you know how these things work. It might not work the first time, but we're not afraid. Here I've got, we want to see this one, it should work. We have library science. We also have information science. So in this case, it should not do it. But it is case sensitive, so I see I want to make my S's small. Let's go back to my rule. What did I call my rule? I hope I called it AM something, otherwise I'll never find it. What did I call it? Oh, boy. There we go. So here we go. I'll check this small. Small. All right. First of all, we'll run it. It should not do it now because does exist the 650 there. Save. We'll get our record. Split editor mode. Open up our rule and run it. First of all, we want to make sure we don't get an error message. Preview. Okay, so far so good. Didn't do anything. Lovely. Now, let's do two things. Back to normalization rules. Instead of not exists, we'll just say if exists. Unbelievable. Look at that.
Nice.
Powerful. Powerful.
Nice.
Very powerful. Now it changed it. Now let's say we want to run this on a set of records. Logical. So, here we go. What do we have to do now if we want to run this? Who knows? I can't run just a rule, right? I have to add it to a. Starts with a P?
Process.
A process, right. So let's go. Resource configuration menu, metadata configuration, Mark 21 bibliographic, normalization, add a process. And then we have a wizard. AM, what are we doing this? Library science to librarianship conditionally. Active next. Now I'll add the Drool normalization. Next. Okay, and we'll add this one here, library science to librarianship. Save. Okay, now let's test it first of all in the metadata editor. Okay, here we are. It shouldn't do anything now. I'm going to put in library science here. And it should not do it because I don't have information science. Save. Let's go down, make sure it's really there. 650 library science. Wonderful. Edit, enhance the record. There it is. Should do nothing. Great. Didn't do anything. Now we're going to add F8. 650. It's also possible in the rule, by the way, to use indicators. We'll do that another day. Information science. Okay, so now the condition is met. Here we go. Edit, enhance the record, library science to librarianship. Beautiful, look at that. Okay, now let's say we want to run this on many. We tested it, the normalization rule works, we tested the process. Now we want to run it on several. So let's do a search to find records like this. You know what? We'll do it on 138. So let's take two examples right here. The first two here. This one here. We'll save this MMS ID on the side because we're going to compare it later to make sure it changed. He's got library science, and he's got information science. It doesn't work if you spell it wrong, but that's actually connected there. Okay, great. Save. Back. One more. We're just going to take two examples. Same thing. Oh, he's already got it. Wonderful. There we go. That should do it. Release all records. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Okay, so we say run process. And now we have a list of all the processes we made. The processes, processes. How do you say processes in plural? Processes. So here we have AM library science to librarianship conditionally. That's the one we want to use. When we do this run processes, it gives us all the processes we made plus ones built into the system, such as cancel, title requests, export inventory entities, etc. Next. And number 3. Where's our... Oh, we didn't make a set. Is that what you were saying? Oh, boy, oh, boy. Let's make a set. Dewey Decimal Classification, save query, set name, Dewey Decimal Classification. Private, no. Active, yes. Boom. Okay, wonderful. Run process. Choose our process, which are called AM something. There it is. Now we'll select our set. There she is. Next. So here we still have to choose the normalization rule, even though we already chose the process which it includes. It works, but you got to do it. Okay, process name. In the Alma, we'll just call this Alma Matters will be our process name. Next. Okay, she's running. Save. Now it's running. In a moment, we'll get an email that it finished, and we'll be able to do a search, and we should see the change. Here we go. Dewey Decimal Classification. Let's be impatient and see if it already changed it. Okay, there's our thing. It finished. Here we go. Oh, look at that. It changed it to librarianship without chickening out doing a PowerPoint. Tools, view versions. Here's our current version now, 1057, with the 650 librarianship. Back to results. In the previous one view, oh, that's even before we changed library science, information science. We've got a lot of them here. Okay. So it changed it, and everything worked perfectly. Let's check our other one. The second one should also be changed. Actually, we don't even have to go into edit. We can do it from here. And it changed this one too.